Looks like we're live here. What's up, everyone? It's the Osmo.com NHL Hit the Ice show. I'm Jake Hari here alone by myself today. We got 5 games to talk about, and it should be actually kind of a tough slate, I think. I wouldn't want to play just one lineup. I do like quite a few spots tonight, so glad that I'm multi-entering. I think I'm going to play on both sites tonight. So gonna fire up some FanDuel lineups at some point here. Maybe we could do that on stream. I know some of you guys like playing the FanDuel format a little bit better. I don't know if it's softer or whatever, or if people just like it. Maybe you like that you can only play 4 total players from the same team. I don't know. I've had a ton more success on DK this season. But I am firing up the $4, just the $4, I think, on FanDuel. Hopefully you guys did better than I did last night. Man, Philadelphia won. It didn't really work out for them. And then it looked like, I think the Colin White line, the White, Stone, Tkachuk line, Tkachuk had 11 DK points, so that was kind of the one you needed. I wasn't really on them, so it was just a complete miss by me. But like looking over last night's slate, nothing really was crazy. I like nothing really went nuts. So usually I feel like I do well on those slates. I mean, Winnipeg won, looked pretty good, and then Colorado won. I mean, Landeskog didn't do anything, but McKinnon and Rantanen both had solid games. Tkachuk saved my night. Yeah, if you had Tkachuk, he was pretty low owned, got 11 DK points. That's usually gonna get you doing things in tournaments. So, and then I didn't really watch that last game. The Brown, Kopitar, Iafallo line looked like they were okay, but still, yeah, you talked shit about Eakin yesterday, so he went nuts every time. It just never fails. So, next time I say anything bad about Eakin, which will probably be the next time he's on the slate. Just make sure to fire him up 100%. It has not failed yet. Did he get a shorthanded goal? I didn't see what he actually did. I just know he scored. I mean, they scored 8 goals or something. So, like everyone could have scored. The Hawks are not good. So, glad to be a Hawks fan. Maybe more glad to be a Hawks fan a few years ago than I am now. But now it's mostly about DFS. Anyways, yeah, so this 5-game slate, it's kind of weird. It's challenging with the travel. A bunch of teams on back-to-backs. I think half of them are on back-to-backs. Both teams in the Pittsburgh-Colorado game, which is a very important game. 9 DK points. Did he really? Eakin did? I guess Vegas went nuts, but it wasn't like that second line was very good, but it's not like you had to have them to have success. Like they didn't have like 3 full line goals or anything ridiculous like that. But yeah, I did forget about Vegas scoring 8 goals against the Blackhawks. So tonight we got the travel. Austin Matthews back. So that's pretty exciting. We don't know exactly what the Toronto lines will look like. I would guess they go right back to what they had with Matthews just taking Kadri's spot, basically. You obviously want to play Matthews a bunch of minutes and not play Kadri over him. So it might make some line matching stuff a little bit different, but it doesn't really change much for me on the slate. It just makes Toronto's second line a little bit more expensive. And I actually really like the Tavares line anyways, so maybe that gets some ownership off of them. Vegas smashed, yeah. Yes, they did. Yeah, so should we talk about these games? Yeah, let's do it, actually. Let's go Blues and the Detroit Red Wings. 2.9 implied total for the Blues. 2.7 for the Red Wings. We're probably going to see the Larkin line go up against O'Reilly, Tarasenko, and Sanford. There's not a huge edge on either side. I thought we might see the Nyquist move up with Larkin and Mantha, and that would have been really fun for DFS. But I do like Larkin and Mantha again. I don't think it's chasing points. The O'Reilly line's playing super high event. I think I do prefer them over St. Louis 1, but it's kind of splitting hairs. And then I like Detroit's second line here a little bit. They're just cheap as a whole at the CU's prices. At least somewhat affordable. Still, Osmo has him as a D value. He's not a great value at all, but I think he's still viable in the context of a stack. All three of those guys in the second line do get power play time, and this isn't the most appealing game, honestly, but if you are getting really deep, I think St. Louis 3 is at least viable if you're trying to fit in the McKinnon line. It's more on FanDuel too. When I was running crunches, they were popping up a little bit for me just because they're super cheap, and you need to get super cheap, especially on FanDuel if you are going to Colorado 1, which I'm definitely going to be doing in a lot of my lineups. Anything else in this game? I mean, the defenseman, I always talk about how I don't like Detroit defensemen. Mike Green had a nice game the other night. I know he scored a goal. He'd probably be the guy that I want to go to. He's 4,900. And if you are going with a Larkin-Mantha pairing, that's probably the guy you're going to want, but he doesn't really get me excited in any way. Same with Cholowski, who is 4K, just plays on the second power play, correlates a little bit better to the Nielsen at the CU combo, and just that second line overall. On the blue side, we still have Vince Dunn on the top power play, but not skating with Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo is 5,500. I still think that's a fair price for him, and it actually does make Edmondson, I think, a really nice value, so I do agree with Osmo there. He's got him at just a C points grade, but for 3,200, A value. And I agree. He's going to see 20-plus minutes. He blocks shots. And he's got a very nice floor for $3,200. And you're probably going to have to punt at one spot on defense because there are some expensive lines tonight that are very appealing. Allen and I had it as Bernier. I don't know if this has been confirmed yet. I haven't seen anything in the last hour or so. So it's possible I could have just missed it. No, I didn't have it as Bernier. I had Howard. Neither team is on a back-to-back here, but I did have Howard actually. So yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about with Bernier. Howard 7,500 and Allen 7,300 on DK. It's just going to be a matter of who I'm fitting in at goalie. Like I never really have anything crazy to say about goalie. I'm not worried about ownership. As long as you're going to see a decent amount of volume and you're not priced at $8,500, you're usually in play for me. It looks like Nolan's line change article just came out, so we can look at that. I'll try to pull that up here in a second. And maybe Austin Matthews on the cover. Of course he is. Let's see if there's anything crazy. This is a free article. You guys can check this out on your own time, or we can just look at it here. Yep, I did see the Jared McCann news just getting bumped up. Tyson Barrie out. Alex Steen is back, but on the fourth line, so not super noteworthy. Hiskinen back on the top power play. Yeah, so, okay, Nolan caught it too. Nice. Mantha, Nyquist, and Larkin. That might be a line to keep an eye on. You're going to want to keep an eye on the Larkin line. I mean, if it's Larkin, Mantha, Advocator, just not as sexy, but still usable. I think I would like to get Advocator in as few lineups as possible, just as a general rule. Hampus Lindholm possibly in? I didn't hear that, Matt, but you could very well be right. That's one of those where, I mean, we haven't heard it yet, so we probably won't know until what? Oh, they're an early game. They're on the road here, so we probably won't know until 6:30 Eastern. But probably a guy, if he does indeed go, that you're gonna get at really low ownership. And Lindholm is more of a floor guy. I haven't even seen his price just yet, but I'm assuming he's not priced at like 5,500 on DK. He's gonna be usable in a game that should have quite a few shots. The Anaheim Florida game. All right, so this is a great article. Definitely want to check this out. I'll post a link in chat. 4,800? Yeah, that's fair. That's fair for Lindholm. I'm comfortable with that. All right. Next game, Ducks, Panthers. We have John Gibson is expected to go after it was a surprise Ryan Miller outing yesterday. He was very good. The Ducks went into Tampa and but they beat the Lightning, which was not expected. I didn't actually see the ownership on Tampa, the point line yesterday, and the Stamkos line for that matter. I didn't really pay too much attention to the slate once it locked. I was out doing other things, but I'm assuming a lot of people were let down by the point line. Getzlaf did nothing. Gross. Last night, Getzlaf did nothing. I didn't see that. My teams were buried pretty early, it seemed like. I just never got anything going in any of my lineups. All right, so matchups here. We're going to see Florida 1, all depth line goals. That's the worst, isn't it, when you're on the team and then you like the team puts up 4 or 5 goals, but it's all third and fourth liners. That's the worst. That's hockey DFS. Happens all the time, it seems like. We're going to see Barkov go up against Getzlaf, Raquel, and Silfverberg. Assuming that line sticks together, they did stay together the entire time yesterday, which I like to see. I love Silfverberg with capable line mates and off Kessler's line. And then this top 6 for the Ducks kind of looks really good for me. They were popping up a ton. I expected that to happen when I was running my first crunches of the morning. And then you look at this matchup against the Barkov line for Getzlaf, Raquel, Silfverberg. Barkov, we say it like every time, but they just have not been the same line defensively. I know they weren't like a super great shutdown line last year. They played somewhat high event, but they're giving up a ton of high danger chances, which we didn't see a ton of last year. So I'm firing up some Getzlaf, Raquel, Silfverberg. I think I'm going to be comfortably over the field. You can, I believe, fit them with Colorado 1, and that's super appealing. So it's not like they're going to be unowned or anything, but I really just like the matchup even before you take price into account and you get them for under 15K on DK. That's an absolute steal. That being said, on the other side, Barkov, Dadonov, and Hoffman, I mean, they're certainly a fine stack, but when you talk about value, it's not great value, especially on a Colorado 1 night, especially when Pittsburgh is on the slate. We've got some other expensive lines, Calgary as well, Toronto with Matthews back. So I don't think Florida 1's going to be super highly owned, but I also don't think this is that great of a spot for them, at least for their DK prices. So I probably have more exposure to Barkov, Hoffman, and Dadonov on FanDuel, but it's going to be limited on both sites for sure. The second line for the Panthers, Huberdeau, McCann, and Vetrano, I think is a very nice value. And I like the matchup between them and the second line for the Ducks, Henrique, Ritchie, and Kasha. I think both of those lines will see some decent ownership on the 5-game slate because, again, we're trying to jam in expensive lines, or a lot of people are. So some of these lines that aren't super popular on bigger slates or different slates will see like 6, 7, 8% ownership. And that's fine. I'm not really concerned about a lot outside of Colorado 1. And I am jamming them in. So whatever. I'm eating the chalk tonight, and I'm going to have a lot of both of Anaheim 2 and Florida 2. Anaheim 2, kind of a bigger sample going back to last year. They give up what they take. They're good at creating high danger chances. I think it's a really good spot for Kasha, who is just 4,800 on DK. So he'd be a guy that I would consider even in limited lineups as like a one-off. I'm not really concerned with other lines, third and fourth lines in this game. I don't think anybody really should be. I've got a couple punt options on the Ducks outside of Brandon Montour, who's the guy I'm going to be having a ton of at 4,700. His price has come up a little bit, but he's playing big minutes, blocking shots, shooting a bunch, and playing top power play time. So there's really, no limitations for me on Montour at just 4,700, especially because I like the top 6 for Anaheim. You've got Josh Manson for 3K. I think that is a very good value. I like him more than Larson. So I want to find that extra $200. If you can't get up to Montour for whatever reason, Manson is a nice floor play at $3K. And then on the Florida side, I hate Florida defensemen because you've got Yandel still on the top power play, and he's super expensive. And if I'm not a huge fan of Florida 1, I'm probably not going to too much Keith Yandel. He's not coming up much for me, so I'm not just saying that. I don't think I'm going to have much Keith Yandel. And if I do, it's going to be with Florida 1. So it's kind of all or nothing for me on the top power play guys. And then the second line, or I'm sorry, the other defensemen here correlate a little bit better to the second line, of course. Matheson and Ekblad, both within $100 of each other. I actually lean Matheson in this spot. He's a guy that's coming up as a really, really nice value for me. And then Ekblad's, he's absolutely fine, but $100 more. And I think Matheson does have a little bit higher upside in the spot. Ekblad, both of these guys are really good. One of these guys should be on the top power play, but that's for another day. If you are punting, again, Pysyk is probably going to play around 20 minutes, and he does block some shots. He's not great, but he is 2,600. So as a last man in type of thing on a team with a 3.3 implied total, I think you can do a lot worse than Pysyk. All right, let's move it on. I'm just going to not mention goalies for the most part unless someone has a direct question about one, just because it might just be a correlation night for me at the old goalie position on DK. All right, Sharks and the Toronto Maple Leafs. We have Aaron Dell going up against Frederik Andersen. Return of Austin Matthews tonight. It looks like he's going to play with Marleau Kapanen, and this line is played together some earlier in the season. They're super high event both ways, and so it doesn't change much. Matthews just a better offensive player than Kadri, just a better player all around than Kadri. So you basically just pretend like Kadri's in there as far as the matchups go. This is a very good spot for both sides, I think. I love Tavares, Marner, Hyman. Again, if you don't want to play Hyman, you can drop down to Kadri, especially on DK. The three centers, if you are double stacking, isn't that big of an issue with the utility spot. So that's a way to get a little bit different with your Tavares, Marner stack. But I absolutely love them. They're going to be one of my highest owned stacks of the night, if not the highest overall. They're going to go up against likely the Pavelski, Kane, Donskoy line. Could be a hard match. They could just roll the top six against each other, which I think actually might be the case. I'm back on the Couture line a ton. They're going to be one of my highest owned lines as well. I absolutely love this game. I think that seemingly every time the Sharks play, I've got both sides. I'm just jamming in both sides. And it hasn't worked much as of late, but I'm going to be doing it here, especially on DK. Couture, Hurdle, and Timo Meier, incredible numbers at even strength, create so many shots and scoring chances. Not saying anything bad about Pavelski, Kane, and Donskoy. I just do prefer the trio of the second line for the Sharks. I don't really like the third line for Toronto. I think if I'm going to a third line in this game, it's probably Thornton, LeBanc, and Sorensen. Just they play super high event and they get a bunch of ice time against the third and fourth Leafs lines, which are not very good on the defensive end. We're looking at defensemen here. Brent Burns is oddly down to 6,200. Erik Karlsson at 5,600. Those are going to be two of my highest owned defensemen here. The Leafs can't defend the point, as Steve so smartly pointed out a while back. Homercles, for the people that don't know him. Steve Homercles Bauer pointed out. So just jamming in defensemen, especially good defensemen against the Leafs, has been very profitable. They just give up so many shots from the point, and Burns and Karlsson are certainly going to take their fair share if they can sustain the puck in Toronto's zone. So love those two guys. That's not a hot take at all. Morgan Riley's price has dropped down to $6K. Still not as cheap as I'd like to see him, but at least more playable for me. And especially if you are going to Tavares, Marner, Hyman, or Kadri instead of Hyman, it becomes a little bit more affordable, even though it is pretty expensive overall. And I just way prefer Riley over anyone else on the Leafs. If you're punting, Travis Dermott is my guy at 2,900. None of these other guys are really sticking out to me as solid values. Let's move it on to the Stars and the Flames. We have, I believe it's going to be Ben Bishop. He skated yesterday. I haven't seen any confirmation on Dallas goalies. I can't remember the Landon Bow, that's his name. I haven't seen any confirmation either way. So unless I just missed something, just tell me in chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume it's going to be Bishop for now, and we'll adjust accordingly. It doesn't really make a huge difference for me. Whoever it is going to go up against Rittich. It's projected to be Bo, not confirmed. Yeah, I just saw that Bishop skated yesterday, so I figured he was on track to play tonight. I could be wrong though. Keep an eye on this, as you should always with any goalie that's not confirmed. Calgary does match very hard at home, so we're going to see Backlund, Tkachuk, Bennett go up against Sagan, Ben, Radulov. Dallas is on the road back-to-back, so maybe you give a little bit of a boost to Calgary here. I don't prefer lines going up against Backlund, Bennett, and Tkachuk. That being said, I think we are going to see some pretty low ownership on Dallas 1 here. You can't fit him in with Colorado 1. You can't really fit him in with the Pittsburgh lines. And despite the Bennett-Tkachuk Backlund matchup, I think that this line is one of the match-proof lines. So they're up there with Colorado 1, in my opinion, as lines you could pretty much play against anyone if the ownership or the projected ownership is right and the price is right, which I think it is here. So I will have some Stars exposure. Right now I'm looking at like 10 to 12%, which I think is going to be, pretty comfortable over the field in the $8 tournament. Do you see Calgary 2 being more modest as a shutdown line this year? Yeah, I don't know if it's Frolik. I talked with Steve about this maybe a couple games after Frolik went out, and they kind of had pretty poor numbers. They had Zarnik up there, and then they switched to Bennett. I know Bennett's not a great defensive player, so it makes some sense. Like, their numbers aren't as ridiculous as a shutdown line this year. I don't know why that would be. They're fine offensively, and this is a good offensive matchup for them. But I still, Backlund is an incredible defensive player and not someone I want to, actively target. But on a night where I'm going to have 100 lineups, yeah, I mean, I for sure want some Dallas 1 exposure. That's just how it's always going to go. They're a matchup-proof line for me. Could have just been a little fluky last year. I think 2 years ago they also had really, really good numbers. So I don't know why this year would be any different. We're starting to get into a sample size, though, where maybe they just aren't the same line this year. Maybe they're just out of sync. Frolik's been out. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. Thoughts on Neil turning it around? James Neal? I honestly, I haven't even thought about Neil really at all. This entire DFS season, he has 3,300. I haven't checked if he's shooting a lot or enough to warrant me using him. His line mates aren't anything special. And yeah, I'm probably going to avoid Neil for the near future until he either gets a bump up via injury or just promotion, or he starts actually doing something. Losing Dougie could be hurting them a lot too. Yeah, when you lose the GOAT, you're going to have some issues. So I don't like Dallas away. I never play them away from home. I mean, I wouldn't say to never play, have strict rules about anyone, right? This is, if the price is right, if the ownership's right, you shouldn't just cross lines off just because you have a rule that you never play them. If Dallas 1 is 17K, and yeah, it might be a not great spot, but if their ownership's going to be 5%, then there's probably a greater than 5% chance that line goes off. Dallas one actually looked really good in Colorado the other night. I didn't watch that one. I mean, if they were matched up against Colorado one, they should look good, at least on their offensive end. Colorado one is not great defensively, so we'll talk about that in just a second. What else is there to talk about here? So Dallas one is really the only line that I'm chasing here. And chasing is probably the wrong word, but the only line that I want any sort of real exposure to on the Dallas side. Radulov has been incredible this year at creating chances. So even for 7,100, even in a less than stellar even strength matchup, I'm still firing up Dallas one. I feel like you're downplaying Calgary here, and I was looking at them as a pivot one off. As a pivot off, high owned Colorado one, I need to increase the font size. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really talked about Calgary just yet. I was doing my spiel on Dallas one, why I'm playing them. But yeah, Calgary one, certainly a fine pivot, if you want to call them that. I don't think they're going to be very low owned at all. They're going to be one of the top 3 or 4 highest owned lines, unless I'm just completely off here. Gotcha, Mac. Too much conflict playing Burns and Carlson versus Toronto? No. I mean, if you're not correlating defensemen, or if you're running like a 5-2-1 or something, then yeah. Play Burns and Carlson. Those two are awesome plays. They could both get there. Monahan and Johnny Hockey are doing well right now. I mean, they're 2 very good players. Lindholm on that line has been fine for them. Offensively, they haven't really skipped a beat as far as their fancy stats. So I have no issue with Calgary one. Dallas does play at a really slow pace, which I'm not accustomed to seeing. I feel like last year and 2 years ago, they were playing at a much better pace. I can't remember. I think they did have a coaching change. That's probably got something to do with it. But yeah, they're just playing at a snail's pace this season. You look at the team numbers, you look at like the last 10 games, any of that. They're just playing really, really dull. That top line's not. So that's the one we know is going to get the most ice time. You know that Backlund, Tkachuk, and Bennett are going to be up against them. That line's going to be a popular filler stack. Backlund, Tkachuk, and Bennett. Nothing bad to say about them. They could certainly get to Sagan, Ben, Radulov at even strength. And they're super, super cheap, with Bennett only being 3,100. Backlund should never be 4K. He's a much better offensive player than that. And then Tkachuk, I think, is the only one they got close to pricing right on Calgary's side. And then Monahan, Gaudreau, and Lindholm are not going to have to deal with Sagan, Ben, and Radulov. So they get the Jason Spezza line. The Faxa line is probably one I want to avoid if I can. It's actually, they dull it down really well, Faxa and Pitlick together. But they're probably going to see some Shore, Hintz, Spezza, and then even that fourth line, I'm sure they're going to see quite a bit against them. Calgary one is going to get very good matchups here. There's no doubt about that. Are they better stacked than Colorado one? Not in my opinion. So for that reason, I'm going to have lower ownership, but I certainly understand the pivot if you're playing one lineup in a single entry and you expect Colorado one to be mega chalk. I understand it. Giordano, I think, is my favorite play in this game for 5,800, just shooting like a madman, and I think he's actually fine value. Yeah, nothing bad to say about Giordano here at all. On Dallas, we've got Heiskanen back on the top power play, so he becomes the clear guy to have if you're playing Dallas one, or even if you're not playing Dallas one. You've seen his upside, and when he chips in offensively, he can have some really, really huge games. His pairing mate, Esa Lindell, would be the other guy I would use if you are getting a little bit different with your Dallas one stack at 4,100. How fluid is the Dallas PP D-man situation? Yeah, they seem to be switching back and forth. It's kind of annoying. Bayrether was up there for a while. Lindell was. Heiskanen had a huge game playing on the top power play last week, but that was against Ottawa. I mean, I don't know. These guys are all cheap enough, though, where you can use any 3 of them. So I would rank them right now, Heiskanen, Lindell, and then Bayrether. But I'm not going to be mad at anyone for playing Bayrether for 3,400, and who knows, maybe he finds his way up on the top power play. Dallas's power play has been very poor this year, if I remember. And actually, I'm going to look that up. Yeah, 17.4% on the surface. That's really bad. They shouldn't be that bad, but like we mentioned, I think it was yesterday, the loss of Klingberg is definitely going to hurt them. Roman Polak at 2,900 if you're punting. I've been playing a lot more of him. It's not my finest DFS moment, but yeah, I've been playing a lot of Polak and could see a lot of Calgary shot attempts here, so that opens the door for some blocks. And he's 2,900, so you're not looking for a goal and an assist out of him, but if he can chip in with a couple blocks and somehow ends up with the point here, that's pretty big for 2,900 on a Colorado 1 night. Speaking of Colorado 1, did you play Jake Bean last night? Nice game. Nice name. Nice game? Nice name. I did not. Todd, our buddy Todd Cordell, was talking about Jake Bean in one of the chats I'm in. And I didn't pull the trigger. I saw he only played like 8 minutes of ice time, though. I was looking at a beat writer's tweet. 8 minutes of ice time? Is that right? I only took one shift in the third period. I don't know. I don't know much about Jake Bean. If you're going to take anyone from Colorado, a hot McKinnon, what? I don't know what you mean, Kevin Evans. Anyways. All right. Last game of the night, Pittsburgh, Colorado. Then we can fire up some lineup builder. We can do some Josh stacks. We can do some Fantasy Cruncher stuff. You guys can get access to Fantasy Cruncher with promo code Hit the Ice. You get a free week of Osmo.com Premium. Try it out. It's free. You get access to the Slack chat, Osmo's rankings, my projections, all the good stuff. You can troll me in chat, whatever you want to do. But promo code Hit the Ice gets you that. If you could give us a like as well, that would be very, very helpful and appreciated. So please give us a like if you do enjoy watching this. And we will have Homercles back tomorrow. So we'll have a very, very, very good analysis from Homercles, as always, on tomorrow's show. And you won't just have to hear me blabber for the whole time. All right. Casey DeSmith started yesterday. So we've got him listed as the probable starter. But I think that's just because either Daily Faceoff or Left Wing Lock have them as the number one on the depth chart because they started yesterday. I'm treating it like it's going to be Yari going, or Matt Murray is not. He's not ready just yet. So Yari would be the likely guy unless they ride to Smith back-to-back. And then on the Colorado side, it's going to be Grubauer, it looks like. Yeah, it should be Yari. I'm assuming it's not Tristan Jerry. I'm assuming he's not from here, not from the U.S., but could be Jerry. Who knows? All right. So the Colorado 1 conundrum, right? So they're super expensive. They usually are at home, and they're not like 23,000 like we've seen them. You need your intro music from your old podcast. Yeah, I don't work for that site anymore, so I don't know. This is a new site, so now we do our own thing. I think some of the shows do have music. Maybe we could figure that out. But anyways, Colorado 1 puts you into a box as to what you can do if you are not. If you are playing three stacks. So you're going to be limited to a lot of line twos. Maybe Anaheim 1 type of thing. Still, just like Philadelphia 1 yesterday and it did not work out, just because Philadelphia 1 did not work out does not mean that the chalk always doesn't work out. They're going to be chalk for a reason. I think it's the best spot of the night. Pittsburgh is not great defensively. And as an added bonus, you get a $3,400 defenseman that you can make as a four-man stack. 4-3-1 is the optimal way to stack. So you're going to see a ton of Colorado 1 with Sam Girard, and that's fine. I'm going to have a lot myself. I think it makes sense to consider going with Eric Johnson or like a Nemeth or, one of these other guys, Cole, and just to be a little bit different without being stupid. Because, like Girard's not a guy that's going to shoot the puck 100 times. He's not Erik Karlsson. He's not Brent Burns, obviously. He's just cheap, and he is on power play 1. Could that switch around? Yeah, it absolutely could. I'm not saying it's going to, but I'm just saying, and if Colorado 1 does get there at even strength, which I think is a very good chance that they do, then we've got, Erik Johnson's probably going to see a ton of time with them. Cole's going to see quite a bit of time with them as well. And I don't know about that third pairing, the Nemeth pairing, but I'm just saying, you could find the defenseman that gets a couple points, and maybe Girard gets left out of the score sheet. It's very possible. So that's my spiel on Colorado 1. I think they're the best play. They're going to be my highest exposed, likely on both sites, but for sure on DK. It's not really close with the other stacks. They could be double the exposure of any other stack on the night. That's how it's going to go. Yeah, Cole's more of a floor play, but you see it with these floor play guys. So is EJ too. But 4K and 3,800, if these guys one of them gets a goal or one of them gets 2 assists, then you're going to be different from the Colorado 1 people while having the nut defender. Landeskog is overpriced on FanDuel. It's Colorado 1, man. You're gonna have to pay the price. So find a way to get different if you're playing Colorado 1, as you always should if you're playing the chalk. That's how I'll leave the Colorado 1. I don't really love anything else on the abs here. Colin Wilson does play power play 1, so if you're doing power play stacks and you want to go 4 forwards from Colorado, that's also pretty viable here. I haven't seen anything on refs here. Should probably check that, because Colorado does commit a ton of penalties. And then you've got Pittsburgh on the other side, who has a fantastic power play. Looks like one official is very good as far as if you like goals, 4th most goals per game. Francis St. Laurent. Is our buddy Furman reffing tonight? No Furman. Damn. Yeah, no Furman tonight. Play them with Joe Thornton. Always a good way to get different. Oh, God. You could, a Thornton, if you're playing a Thornton one-off, then anybody, don't play a Thornton one-off. You can play Thornton in a stack. But, yeah, I think Matt's trolling there. Good old Thornton. All right. So Pittsburgh power play, I think it's a very good spot. Both teams on a back-to-back. Maybe you see increased penalties here. And totals jumped a lot in San Jose, Toronto. Maybe that's where your ref is. Let's see. Looks like one's neutral, one's pretty good for goals, just for penalties per game type of thing. So it could be. I don't really pay attention to line movement that much. All right. I prefer the Crosby line on Pittsburgh if we're going to a Pittsburgh even strength stack. I like Gensel and Crosby together. I think they're priced fairly, and I actually don't mind Dominic Simone just for $3,500. He is a capable line mate, especially with Crosby and Gensel. This line does have, they do have some history together. They've been very solid offensively. Malkin, Kessel, Pearson is also perfectly fine. These lines look pretty evenly priced. I haven't broken down the price, but just eyeballing it, pretty even there. So not a huge pricing discrepancy. If you can fit in a full Pittsburgh power play stack, that's probably what I prefer to do. I just don't know if you're going to be able to quite get there on Pittsburgh. But yeah, this one's really about Colorado 1. This slate is really about Colorado 1 for me. And just know if they don't hit, that I will not be winning the money. Letang on D for Pittsburgh is the guy you're really going to want. Other than that, you've got Jack Johnson for only 3K. Plays on that second power play, but should see a decent amount of minutes. And he is 3K. He's more of a floor play, if I didn't mention that before. All right, that's going to do it for the games. What does everybody or anybody want to do as far as Fantasy Cruncher? Or we could do DK Fantasy Cruncher. We could do FanDuel Fantasy Cruncher. We can build some Josh stacks. Are they exactly the same? Pit 1 and Pit 2. Okay. Crosby will make a statement tonight. Very well could be. Penn's PP stack. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's see if we can do it. So we want to get Crosby, Gensel. We're going to want to get Malkin, Kessel, Letang. All right. Now we've got 43.75 per player, including the goalie. You'd probably have to do something like this. Oh yeah, you can do it. FanDuel Cruncher. Man, I don't know why you guys want to see FanDuel Cruncher. But all right, we can do some FanDuel Cruncher here in a second. You can do this. It's actually not that difficult. There you go. Get in Nemeth or Barbario. Yeah. Wow. There you go. 2.56 GPA. Not great, but man, that's pretty easy to do. Matthew's on $100 more than the other three. McKinnon is being compared to him. McKinnon's a stud. I love watching McKinnon. All right, let's do some FanDuel Cruncher. FC, NHL, and we do have an NBA show after this, guys. If you like the basketballs, Adam and Lofty will be on doing the deeper dive. I think it's Chris Spags and Eddie, Fast Eddie Fear, for the Live Before Lock show. We'll take you right up until lock, and tons of good information over the next couple hours after I get off here. Let's see. What do we want to do here? We'll do 2 stacks. We'll go line 1, line 2, any PP unit. Actually, let's just do PP unit 1. Don't need to make rules just yet. We'll do like 25% randomness. Stack roll with the D-man? Yeah, what do you want to do, Vots? What should we do with the stack roll? You want to stack, you want to go 4-3-1? So we'll do stack 1 defenseman with at least 3 players from the same team. There we go. 4-3-1. All right, so we're going to get 4-3-1s here. Don't need anything for groups. All right, we'll include power play 1. Let's try this out. These are using FC's projections. I'm going to take away that. The average. You can also upload my projections from the site. If you are a premium member, feel free to do that. Wow, the Matthews line is coming up crazy. Whew. Wow. As is Backlund. Or not the Backlund line. I guess just Kachuk. Wow. You see McKinnon here. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of Colin Wilson. Yeah. Colin Wilson. He's just everywhere. Do we even have... Okay, we've got a full stack there. There you go. So this will be a way to be different, playing Colorado 1. Okay, yeah, someone might have Florida 2 with Colorado 1, but a lot of people will go to Sam Girard. I don't know what his price is on FanDuel, but I'm sure it's, not crazy high or anything. But it's just a way to be different. You got a Morgan Riley one-off. That'll be different. You can go to someone else. You can drop down. There you go. You go to EJ. And what do we have left? There you go. Something like that. Girard is a perfectly fine play, but that 4-man is going to be very, very highly owned on both sites, I'm sure. Not just DK. Matthews at 7,500 is lower than his average salary for FanDuel. That could be a part of it coming up so much. I don't know. That could very well be the reason. What other lines are coming up? McCann. Yeah, that's second line. Both Calgary lines. This was how my crunches have kind of been as well. I'm getting an uncomfortably little amount of Pittsburgh. And I mean, I'm not the big, I'm lower than Pittsburgh. I'm lower on Pittsburgh than most people. I say it all the time, but I don't want no Pittsburgh tonight. Definitely wouldn't want this, just 2% Couture. And I don't see any Pavelski line here either. So I'd want to spread this way out. I'd want to go like this. And just go 20%, 20%. And we'll go like this. Just even strength stack. The bias is kind of evaporated on Pittsburgh. Could be. It still feels like it's there for me. And maybe that's a higher stakes thing. I've been playing a lot more like $8 and lower than that type of thing, but could be. It just seems like every time they're just 20%. They get a 20% ownership boost. Never sleep on Pitt. I think that's what a lot of people think too. I don't know. Their price has come down quite a bit, and you saw what you could do with the power play 1 stack. So, I'm not taking an intentional stand against Pittsburgh, but Crosby on FanDuel 8,800. That's pretty restrictive. Stolar's ownership at high stakes last night, was it over 50? Man, he was the best play. I mean, he was by far the best value, and it wasn't even close. So that makes sense why he would be 50%. But 50% of any goalie is kind of outrageous. Since the trade, they've been hot. The Pearson trade. I mean, they should have. Didn't they lose 5 in a row? Teams are going to do that. 18% or so in the 20. When does Austin not make noise in a debut/return? You can see your combos and stack exposure in the team stacks tab. Yeah. Right here. Bots is right. Oh, I think that was 12 entries though, I think, Matt. That's the high rollers. Not much of an edge in that tournament, I'll tell you that. Tavares will show up Matthews for good reason. I don't know what that means. Look at this, though. We got a nice spread of teams, I think, with 100 lineups. And that's what I'm running tonight, 100 lineups on both sites. I'm already entered in on FanDuel, so I have to fire it up. I'm not going to go and delete each one by one 100 times. So I am playing on FanDuel, enjoying my money. I have not had any success there this season. Oddly, though, that was a site I played on a ton 2 years ago. I played basically all my NHL exposure over there. And then last year was pretty much all DK. This year's pretty much all DK. I know Steve's been crushing it over on FanDuel, so I'll go donate to him tonight. Anything else you guys want to see? We got about a couple more minutes, so NBA guys will get on after this. Malkin. A lot of Pitt, Calgary. Pitt had continuity problems. Coach was changing their lines too much. Look at Gensel now. They're doing much better with less changes. What percent Edmondson would you want on DK? Let's see. Well, what did we get him here? Did we even get him here? Wow. I mean, I don't know. Probably like 10 to 15, I think. And that's probably on the high side. 15 is. I'm usually spread around on defensemen unless there is like Gerard's probably going to be one of my highest exposed defensemen tonight, but Giordano will be up there for sure. And then I'll have, sprinkles 8 to 10% of Cole, probably even more than that, like 15% of Johnson if I have Gerard at 20. So it's not just going to be Sam Gerard for me. Carlson or Yandel? Carlson. That one's not really close for me, especially if you're talking about a one-off. Looks like you got Brody instead. More upside there for sure. With Brody? More upside? FC bad projections. No, FC projections are fine. But yeah, you should, you can try mine out for free for a week. And if they suck, then, you try them out for free at least. So there you go. Brody last 5 has a floor of like 3. Yeah, I mean, Brody is a floor guy, but so is Edmondson. So I'm really not concerned about ownership tonight on anyone outside of Colorado 1 tonight. And honestly, there's rarely a line. Even last night in the $20, which is a pretty sharp tournament, I think. A lot of sharp guys MMEing that. I think Philadelphia 1 was 23, 24%, which is high for sure. But it's not no one gets to 45, 50%. That's higher stakes. Maybe in the 33, they could have touched that if it was the right slate. But I think just play the best plays for the most part. Brody actually has some ceiling games the last year or so. Oh, yeah. It's always a tilt when Brody has a ceiling game because I'm almost never on him. All right. That's probably good for today. We'll be back tomorrow. Steve and I think there's an 8-game slate on Thursday. Should be very good. And please use promo code HitTheIce. If you haven't tried us out for a week for free, you get the premium Slack for a week. And my projections, Osmo's rankings, articles, all that good stuff, power plays from Vots and Chris. Check out those articles today. My Spotlight Stacks article as well is out. I'll be updating projections for any of you that use them right after the show in the next 20 minutes or so. And hopefully we have a nice slate. I've had really good success on these 5 to 6 gamers. I don't know what it is, but man, it's just it's kind of weird actually. I don't know. I haven't had success in the 10, 12 gamers. Maybe it's just a variance thing. But hopefully we all get there tonight. See how good of a teacher you are, Jake. I think I made something resembling an NHL lineup for single entry, no matter what. Oh, thank you. Play a Fly Reborn, Detroit 1, Colorado 1, and Dallas goalie. Make sure you check on the Dallas goalie to see who's starting. So that's the one thing I'll say. But otherwise, I like it. All right. Give us a like. We do enjoy your likes. It helps us out, helps us do this for free. So thank you guys, and we will be back tomorrow. Steve and I. Good luck. See you at the top of the leaderboard.